World Health Organization is set to hold its annual World Health Assembly in Geneva starting on Sunday and then running all through next week. But there has been this social media frenzy about what some are calling the pandemic treaty. So many of you have asked me to look into this, so I did, and this video is about it. But I'm going to warn you, if you normally think a news meme on the internet is gospel truth, this video is not for you. This is going to probably be the longest video I've ever made, and that's because it's filled with facts and even the actual government documents submitted to the World Health Organization, which, if we're getting technical, is not a treaty, and the US and other countries have been really leery about signing any treaties. The other thing you need to know up front is nothing has been decided. This process, if it happens, is going to take years. So you need to promise me that you're going to watch this whole video before you start firing off comments. Okay, you promise? Okay. Okay, here are the facts. The World Health Organization, also known as the WHO, not the band, holds what's called a World Health Assembly every single year. It's this big meeting where they all get together. This is the 75th time they have met, and this year they will be back in person for the first time since the pandemic hit. There are 194 member countries called either a member state or a state party, including the United States and China. One of the things on this year's agenda that lots of you have been hearing about is the discussion of this so-called global pandemic treaty. Again, not a treaty yet, and possibly never will become one. You've probably seen the hashtag Stop the Treaty or the words pandemic treaty, or you've seen videos about this circulating online that say if it was approved, this would strip away all your rights and give the WHO complete health sovereignty and unlimited authority over governments during a global health crisis, including the ability to lock down countries. So let's talk about it. First, you need to understand that in 1969, the international health regulations were adopted, and they've been amended a few times since then. These rules provide a framework that defines countries' rights and obligations in handling public health events and emergencies that have the potential to cross borders. These rules are legally binding and have been agreed to by 196 countries, including 194 WHO member states. These regulations also include the requirement to report public health events and important safeguards to protect the rights of travelers. Okay? We're clear on all that now. So let's move on to this so-called treaty that everyone's all worried about. Back in December of 2021, after the subpar world response to COVID-19, member states agreed that there had to be a better way to respond to global health crises in the future because they're probably coming. Well, just last month, the United States proposed a solution in the form of this 13-page amendment to those international health regulations that have been on the books, as I said, for decades. Most of these suggestions by the United States government just expand on the rules that already exist, and when it comes down to it, the changes are really only about information sharing. The U.S. document suggests amending several rules, including requiring member states to let the rest of the world know when a public health threat has developed within 24 to 48 hours, and include genetic sequencing data of that health threat, if at all possible. If member states don't let the WHO know of potential public health threats that could cross borders, the WHO would be required within 48 hours, depending on the magnitude of the threat, to immediately share information about the potential public health threat with other countries and with the public. This would also require the WHO to offer assistance like technical guidance or mobile teams on the ground during one of these emergencies, but only if the member state accepts it. It would allow the WHO to make recommendations in a health emergency to member states, but they can choose to accept or deny those recommendations. This would also require member states to allow the WHO on-site short-term access to the site of the threat. But again, member states can deny this too. It would require member states to protect supply chains, even during public health emergencies of international concern, including making special provisions to trade restrictions and coming up with contingency plans so we don't see the supply chain shortages that we're seeing now. And it includes the creation of a compliance committee to make sure all these rules are followed. Keep in mind, these are just the American suggestions. The UK has also proposed some things, but all of the suggestions need to be negotiated and ultimately voted on before they become a thing. So let's talk about when this might all happen. Nothing will be finalized this week. These amendments the United States and other countries are proposing will be discussed next week. And based on those discussions, a working draft of this new potential agreement could come sometime in August. There will be negotiations and lots of public hearings throughout. A progress report will be presented at next year's World Health Assembly, and the final draft could go up for a vote in 2024. This is going to at least take 2 years to get done, if it happens at all. The fact is, nowhere in the U.S. amended proposal document is there one word that would allow the WHO any authority over the governments of any of the 194 member countries. It does not supersede parliamentary democracies. It would not allow the WHO to lock down countries dealing with some sort of health outbreak, and Bill Gates isn't mentioned once. And as I outlined, any member nation under the U.S. amendment can reject any assistance from the WHO for any reason. I know Russell Brand says otherwise, but I just explained to you what is in the actual document, so believe whoever you want. Now, if you want to read the full actual document from the United States government, I have put it on my website along with a ton of other documents about this topic. I'm going to warn you, the U.S. document is a very boring read, but it's just 13 pages and I trust you guys can get through it.